So at this point we have fixtured our part, so that way we can access all of the sides that we need to output the dimensions shown on the print. Our next move is, let's go select our probe. So right now I have just turned on this machine. You can see I have no stylus in our sensor there. So let's go do a CNC stylus system change. So I haven't even opened up a new file yet. This usually is covered in the startup procedure, but maybe you start a new program and you need to change the stylus. Well, how do you do that? Well, regardless of which mode you're in, you can come up here to CNC stylus system change, which is the little A icon at the top. And in this case, I'm just going to left click to highlight the 3x50mm stylus in green, and then I'm going to right click and say load stylus system from holder. Now, you can't see it on the screen right now, but I am slowing the speed knob all the way down. I'll say load stylus system from holder, and then I will slowly open that speed dial up. And if you see that the X position of the tool change is correct, in other words, you make sure that the sensor didn't go to the wrong position like this one or that one, at that point you can just turn the speed dial all the way up. Our biggest issue here is if somebody pulls one of these probes off manually, or somebody puts one of these probes in the wrong position manually, and you try to put that probe away in that probe's position, that is going to set you up for a crash. There are also ways where in your automatic stylus system change, if you tell it to put the probe away in the wrong spot, that could also create a crash. So biggest thing with a stylus system change, turn that speed dial or speed knob all the way down before you start it. As soon as you see the X position is correct, in other words, the probe moved over to the correct spot, then you can turn the speed dial all the way up so the change doesn't take quite so long. So in this case, we have a bunch of different probes here. We have our master probe. We have, I don't even remember the size of that. I think that's a 40 by 1mm. This is a 3 by 50mm, and then we have our star probe over here. So the 3 by 50mm is going to give me the length that I want here. Let's just drive around a little bit. And by the way, if the joysticks aren't working for you, it's probably just they timed out, so you'll have to hit that little lock button right there on the joystick. If that little LED light there is orange, that means that it's timed out. And I guess Zeiss is assuming if you tap this, you see how the machine is actually moving as I tap that. If you tap that, you wouldn't want it to move on you if it's been idle for a while. So if it beeps at you or that light's on, that's what's going on. So let's move this probe over and just make sure that we can access all sides of the part here. And you can see based on the fixture that I've selected here, there are some potential collisions between the sensor itself and this post. So before I go any further, I may want to change out this post with a different height post. And the other reason I bring it up is I try to use a stylus that gives me as much clearance as I need, but you don't really want your stylus to be any longer than it needs to be. That'll make your measurements less accurate. So yeah, definitely should change out this post to something a little lower profile based on looking at the probe. Another important point for probe selection is you want to make sure that the diameter of that ball is going to fit into the smallest feature that you're measuring. For today, we are only measuring features. It's wide open, you know. This gap here is over a ½ inch wide, so we're not going to have any potential clearance issues. But if we look at a different part here, like this part, you can see we have quite a few small features that we need to get inside of. Maybe you're inspecting features that are on other faces of the part. Well, that might be where you would want to select the star probe or a smaller diameter probe because of what you need to measure. If you don't have a good reason for using some probe other than the 3 by 50, use the 3 by 50, the one with a little blue band on it, as your default.